What is up, guys? DZ here. The North American World Championship qualifier was this past weekend. I suffered my third loss in rounds, or after round 7 or whatever, which is one less round than I survived last year with Volcanics. Overall, it was a lot of fun. I'm going to make a second video talking about like what happened at the event, but I wanted to do a deck profile as its own video, and then do like a event aftermath sort of video as its own separate entity, just in case you only wanted to watch one of them. Didn't want to bog down this one and make it like 30 minutes or whatever. But anyway, yeah, I played Monarchs. The main decision that allowed me to come to this deck was that I didn't want to play a deck that had to play around the Cosmos spaceships at all. I played BA and Phantom Knights for about 2 months this past year, and I am so sick of making F-Zero to out Cosmos ships that I just want to play something that could get around them with no trouble at all. I mean, honestly, when you're playing Monarchs, you like don't even notice the non-targeting thing. It's really funny, and that is great. Do I think this was a bad meta choice? Not necessarily. I thought my build was really tight. There's a lot of cards in here that Mike Steinman came up with after I posted the cock-a-doodle-doo video. Actually, he messaged me, and I was given his list that he was testing with, I think they call themselves like the Brady Bunch. It's like 4 or 5 people that test pretty intensively together. They have a really good track record. Anyway, he gave me his list, and I modified mine accordingly. There are a couple things that are different that I kept, but honestly, my list was already pretty close to it. There were just a couple tech choices that I hadn't even thought of that were a really good idea. But anyway, yeah, I played Monarchs. I thought I'd get this up there because I know that the European Nats like this weekend, I think. So if you were still looking for ideas to play this deck, yeah, here you go. So anyway, played 3 Ether, 2 Erebus, 3 Karaz. I think that was the correct number for those guys. I sometimes missed like a 9th Monarch to reveal, but there really just isn't like a good one to play. I was playing Mobius for a while. I played Mobius at YCS Origins. I wanted to play regular Thessalos, but they're just really not good unless you have return. I didn't want to play a 3rd Erebus, even though I like Erebus a lot, because there are hands where you draw like 1 tribute fodder and then like a return, and you just want like a 1 tribute Monarch and not have to worry about like having a domain to summon the Erebus. Yeah, and then 1 Vanity's Fiend. Pendulums were huge at this event. I figured they would be. Vanity's Fiend is like an auto win against them, so I decided to play that. Worked really well. We also played 2 red layer and 1 blue layer. I really just want to play the most consistent version of Monarchs. I know the deck is infamous for not being consistent. I actually don't think the problem with Monarchs is consistency. I think it's too fragile in the early stages of the game, and I think that gives it a bad matchup against BA. Actually, 2 of my losses were to BA. I think I severely underestimated how bad of a matchup that was. I think in my head, I was thinking that you could just always Stormforth over Beatrice, and your monsters were just way bigger than theirs, but I just wasn't thinking about that if this deck can't get out of the early game, like, you just lose, and there's no deck better at ending the game before you get out of the early game than BA. I think a lot of people made that mistake. That was definitely like one of the biggest decks, if not the biggest deck at the event, and I think that's because a lot of people underestimated it, honestly. But anyway, I want to make Monarchs really consistent, the most consistent I could play them, and I think that's with the Super Quantum Engine, as well as I think it was with Terratops. I know I've been on these a while. These cards are just so powerful. These monsters are just so good, so synergistic. Everything just flows so well together. You make rank 3s. You can put multiple tribute monsters on board without using a normal summon. Deck thins. These cards just do everything you want them to. And at the end of the day, I thought it was better to just play these. I would much rather draw a Takedown Borg or a blue layer than a Garnet or a Lazuli or a Jax Knight or a Dark Witch or any of the Squires, honestly. And really, these worked out great. They were all fantastic, so I'd recommend playing them highly. The last tech choice was Cock-a-doodle-doo. I wasn't thinking of playing this card, honestly. I know I posted all those like Nats prep videos, but those were really just me sort of getting my thoughts out there. None of them were for sure things I was playing in my deck at that time. Ironically, I think every single one of those videos made it into this particular deck list, but I really wasn't planning on playing this card. Mike did convince me, though. It has a lot of synergy that I didn't realize. You can make like Black Rose going second against the Demise decks. The Demise decks are what killed me at YCS Origins, and I was planning on not letting that happen again. I actually just demolished 2 Demise Cosmos at the event. So I felt really good about my decision to play these types of cards. But yeah, I never drew this card once, unfortunately. I really wanted to play 2 instead of the Upstart. I'll talk about the Upstart in a second, though, what else it could have been. But I really wanted to play 2, but I decided to play 1, and then as a result, I never saw it. But it is adorable. I like the little hamsters. I don't know if I can focus. They're so cute. Look at him. He has this little, I don't even know what that is. Like a chestnut or something. Anyway, it's a cute chicken with cute hamsters. So you gotta play it. We're also playing 3 Pantheism, 3 Tenacity, 3 Return, 3 Stormforth, and then 1 Domain. I don't want to say you're crazy if you're playing 2 Domain. People definitely play it, but I can't see any hand where I would ever want to see 2 of that card, so I don't know why I would play 2. That's really what it comes down to. 2 E-Telly, really powerful. 2 Twin Twister, I do think you were crazy if you weren't playing this card at this event in the main deck. So many back row decks. Back row is definitely coming back with a vengeance at the North American World Championship qualifier, and if you weren't prepared, you were probably just going to be killed really fast. So Twin Twister was a good pick, definitely worked out great. 1 Instant Fusion. There really isn't room for the second one, and I don't know. I felt like if I was playing 2 Instant Fusions, I wanted the Thousand Eyes Restrict in my extra deck, but I didn't have really room for that, so I just felt like the 1 was fine. And then 1 Upstart. I thought about this for a while. I know Mike swore by this card, so I just decided to play it. But really, this could have been the second Instant Fusion, the second Cock-a-doodle-doo, or the 3rd Twin Twisters in the main. Really could have been any of those choices, but at the end of the day, I just decided that it was more important to have an increased chance of drawing my other cards than play just an extra copy of one of those cards. So yeah, but it worked out pretty well. A lot of times it got me there. This deck can sometimes be like 1 card away from breaking, so digging your deck, just that 1 card makes a huge difference. And then lastly, we played 3 Prime Monarch, and then 1 Escalation. Escalation is like my favorite card in Monarchs. I love this card every time I draw it. It really just makes unwinnable games winnable because you can interact with your opponent on their turn more than you could normally. That was it for the main deck, 40 cards, obviously. Extra deck, 1 Dante, 1 Grand Pulse, cut the Totem Bird because I never made it. An Adrius, a Tyrus, whatever this guy's called, Pleiades, Zenmayo, super clutch, honestly. Shark Fortress, and then Volcasaurus and Durandal. A lot of people play like 2 of one of these. They might play 2 Pleiades is pretty common, 2 Durandal isn't crazy. I know Mike wanted to play 2 Zenmayo. Honestly, though, I just felt like playing 1 of all of them was the best. I never found myself needing a second one of any of these. Sometimes the second Durandal was helpful. That came out more in the Gem Knight build, though, so I felt safe with just playing 1 of all of them, just so you had the most options, really, because that's what I was looking for out of a rank 5. Honestly, the ones that I made the most were... I guess I didn't make a lot of these. I made Pleiades a lot, and I made Zenmayo a surprising amount. And then Volcasaurus is always fantastic. I don't know. There's been times where, like, there's been, like, turns where I, like, summoned Durandal, like, every single game. Or there was, like, 1 locals where I, like, summoned Shark Fortress, like, 5 times. So it just fluctuates, really. And then 1 Gaia Charger to go over all of them. For the Synchros, it was just the Black Rose and the Omega. You make the Omega go on first and the Black Rose go in second, because then the Cock-a-doodle-doo turns to level 4. And then the Instant Fusion targets are 1 Panzer and 1 Dragoness. I suppose you could play just a single target for Instant Fusion when you're playing 1. And if I was to play a single target, I'd just play the Panzer. But man, this thing came up so many times where I would, like, would have the Takedown Borg and an Instant Fusion, and then I could just put 2 monsters on the board. And really, at that point, the Instant Fusion is just like a Terror Top. And there were also times where like you'll like Terror Top your opponent, and then they'll like Farfa the Terror Top, so you can't special summon the Takedown Borg, and then you can just Instant Fusion this thing, which is just totally amazing play. Really unexpected and worked out great. We sided the 4 Squires. I think these cards, I don't think they were a good decision. It makes sense in theory because you really do want these in the mirror match, but I think I would have rather just sided what I originally was siding, which was 2 Breakthrough and 2 Curse Seal of Forbidden Spell. I think the Speedroids were fine in the mirror match as long as you had cards like Breakthrough and Curse Seal to just completely tilt the match in your favor. So I think out of my side deck choices, these were the cards that I regretted the most, and I hate them. We also played 2 Effect Failure and a Ghost Ogre. Effect Failure was mainly just for the mirror. The Ghost Ogre was just in case Cock-a-doodle-doo was a bad idea, and I realized that mid-tournament. I actually kind of wish, yeah, like the Upstart could have been this too, now that I think of it. I actually kind of wished I played both, but there really wasn't anything to cut besides the Upstart. Yeah, Ghost Ogre is cool because you can E-Telly it, which is really helpful, but drawing the Cock-a-doodle-doo is just like 100 times better. So even though you don't have as frequent as access to it, because when you're playing Ghost Ogre, you effectively have 3 copies of it because you're playing E-Telly. It's just worse to draw overall, so it's, I don't know about that card, but it's cool. It's really good against Pendulums because you can hit the Sky Iris. The second Vanity's Fiend, just for Pendulums mainly. It's pretty good against Cosmo too, especially Demise Cosmo because they have all the Call the Haunteds. 1 Dark Smorg, this card was a mistake. So I don't think Dark Smorg is a bad card. I think it's actually quite effective against Clifford Demise, but Clifford Demise was actually just not good at this event. I know like I think there might have been one that was like undefeated after Swiss, or undefeated after day 1 or something, but I don't think a lot of them topped, and I don't think any of them made it to top 32. I know a couple made top 64. I don't know. I should have looked at the exact top ratios before this, but I'm way too lazy. Anyway, this card's really bad against Demise Cosmo. It's really good against Clifford's, but mainly people were just playing Demise Cosmo if they were playing Demise. This card wasn't very good because they can just Dark Destroyer it, so I never decided into this. Yeah. We also played the 3rd Twin Boosters because fuck back row, man. March of the Monarchs is really good against BA, mainly. I actually lost a game. Like I said, I lost to BA 2 matches, and that was my mistake. But that was a game where I could have set up a Vanities with a return to Search and Aether, or set up a Vanities with a March, and I chose the return and then got Regeki'd. And I definitely would have won that match if I would have searched the March instead. So that was definitely my mistake. So I think I put the card in and like knew it was good, but then I didn't like search it when I had the opportunity and then lost because of it. So that was my bad, but it's only really good against BA because it stops Farfa. Farfa and Fogblade and Alec and shit. So one tech that I definitely don't want to take credit for coming up with was Gersali Prison. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. I'm going to pronounce it Gersali Prison. You guys always love correcting me on my pronunciation. But anyway, this card was amazing. All Mike's idea. I'd never even heard of it. Well, I'd kind of heard of it when he showed it to me, but mainly I would have never thought of this. Basically, if you control a face monster, if that was tribute summoned, neither player can synchro or exceed summon until your opponent's next end phase. And also the ones that are already on the field that are synchro and exceed monsters can't attack and their effects are negated, which is just crazy. It is like it's like a better domain that like can't be MST'd, and also you can play an extra deck when you're playing it. Like holy shit, this card is good. It's fantastic against BA at all stages in the game. It's good against Pendulums turn 1. This card is incredible. I never drew it. Honestly, I wish I had played 3 of this card, especially seeing my 2 losses, or 2 of my 3 losses were to BA. I think playing 3 of this card would have definitely been worth it. Taking out the Dark Smorg or even the Veilers, really. But this card is just incredible. I don't know if people are going to start playing it now, but if you have never heard of it before, man, this card is really good. So I would definitely recommend it. And I will be playing it going forward. The last two cards were by far the best cards. Full House. Man, I Full House 2 different people for 4, and they just auto-scooped right away. It was so fucking funny. Oh my god. Full House is like my new favorite side deck card. I haven't played this card since like Fire Fists were good. Like, what is that, like 2 years ago now? Wow, that makes me feel old. But yeah, 2 years ago when Fire Fists were good. This deck was all the rage, but man, it is so fucking good against Demise decks. It is just not even funny. If you can't resolve this card against Demise decks, you're probably winning anyway because they don't have a lot of back row. And if you can resolve it, you win because they have a lot of back row, and now they're all gone. Sure, they could Slip Rider in the end phase. They could, some people are saying like Starlight Road or Huge Revolution is over, but at the end of the day, you're going to usually full house them for like 4 or 5, and you are going to win the game like the next turn. So I think it's worth playing. Definitely should pick up like the Secret or the Super because it's just such a cool card. But Full House is definitely like the MVP of the side deck and the tournament, really. But yeah, I had a fun time. I'll talk about that in the next video, but I usually like archiving my decks. You can actually go back and like look at the past 3 decks that I've played before this one at the different WCQs. I think Nationals are a good sort of marker of where you are as a player. Not necessarily in the deck lists you play, but in the reasoning that you play them. Looking back at my 4 Nationals experiences, I think my first 2 decks were pretty much garbage. A lot of my reasoning was way off. I think the Volcanic list was super solid even a year after it now. There are very few deck lists that, and I'm sure you guys will find this too, but there are very few deck lists that I could ever say a year after them that I was really happy with all of the choices that I made. But man, that Volcanic list was really tight. But hopefully a year after this list, I can say that I think my list was still really good for the event. Right now, in the moment, I thought it was pretty good, except for not running 3 of that prison card. I think that was sort of a misstep. But overall, a lot of fun. I'll talk about it in the next video. Hopefully you enjoy the deck profile. Here was the mat, and it was pretty cool. And I will check you guys later.